All right, y'all, this is just going to be a really brief introduction to another form of the verb called imperfecto del subjuntivo, or imperfect subjunctive. You have seen it a couple times, but it's going to be a little more explicit here. All right, when do you use it? Use it for statements that are contrary to fact. There are other reasons to use it too, but for now we're just going to talk about using it contrary to fact statements, usually all ones that start with if. Okay, so here are some examples. We use them a lot in English also. If I had $1 million, if I were you, if pigs could fly, those are all statements that are not true, but I'm going to use them in a way to make a comparison or something like that. Just note here that if I had $1 million, had is really the past tense of have, but I'm definitely not speaking in the past if I had $1 million. Right? Same thing here. If I were you, I'm not really talking about something in the past, but I'm using the past tense of the verb. And really, I were, that sounds wrong, right? I were. That's in English how we show that it's this contrary to fact, and really it's the subjunctive in English, which usually doesn't stand out very often, but it really does here. I were, right? It should be I was, right? But I were is what we say when it's not true. All right, so here's what those would look like in Spanish. If I had, si tuviera $1,000,000. If I were you, si yo fuera tú. Pigs could fly. Si los cerdos pudieran volar, or you could also do volaran. Just take a note here that these are actually all unusual, exceptionally unusual looking ones, but they're really common. You should have seen the verb tener with tuv as a root before. You should have seen ser with fue as a root before. And you've seen poder with pud here as a root before. If you can think about where, it's going to help you get to the next step. All right, so it's because they're all based on the preterite. Okay, so you're really starting with the preterite ellos form. You're dropping the ron, which is how all the preterite ellos end. And then you're adding endings. This is the really weird part. You have two sets of endings, the ra endings and the se endings. This represents an accent mark here. There's always an accent mark right before the nosotros. The weird part is, it's not that one is for ARs and ERs and IRs or anything like that. They're interchangeable, and they're equally common, and there's not really any difference. You'll actually see both used in one sentence sometimes. So you can choose whether you want to use this ending or this ending. So here's a couple of examples. So the preterite ellos of correr is corrieron. All right? I'm going to drop the ron. All right, so I'm left with this as my stem. Then I'm going to add an ending. I'm just going to put it in the yo form. All right? Oops. I'm just going to put it in the yo form. Well, I can either choose ra and make it corriera, or se and make it corriese. Equally acceptable. Same thing with hablaron, right? That's like going to be the preterite past tense ellos form. I'm going to drop that ron. I just have habla as a stem, which looks more normal. All right, and then I add my endings, ra or se, whichever one I like. So the sentence I would just choose which one I like, hablara or hablase. So if I want to say like, if I ran faster, I would get there on time. Well, if I ran faster, I don't. If I spoke Chinese, I could have a great conversation with someone from China, but I don't. All right, complicated so far probably, but like the good news about imperfecto de subjuntivo, there are no irregulars. There are no irregular verbs. However, we need to pay attention to what verbs are irregular in the preterite, of which there are many. Here are a few examples, right? So we already saw fuera. That's what I used in my sentence before, but I could have used fuese. So hacer is hicieron in the preterite, right? So you end up with hiciera, hiciese, and so on. Just going to go back to this first slide here, right? So we have like, if I had $1 million, right? You could follow all these statements with a but. So if I had $1 million, but I don't. if I was you, but I'm not. If pigs could fly, but they can't, right? So that's what we mean by that they're contrary to fact. You're posing these ideas that are untrue, okay? Notice they all start with if, okay? Really common for them to be in this what's called a C clause, right? C is going to be the first thing here. If, blah, 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 blah. I'm posing this somewhat hypothetical idea, okay? It's also really common for these then to be followed by condicional, right? The haría one that you've already practiced. If I had $1 million, I would buy blah, 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 right? A would could come after that. If I were you, I would not do that. There's a would, right? I don't know how you would end this sentence. It's too weird. But anyways, this is just a brief intro to this. You're not going to be tested on this, but it'll come up later and it'll be useful.